This is HBR News number 493. X under cyber attack, Infowars Journo murdered, Trudeau is out, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I am your host, Brian, and I'm joined by, as always, my lovely co-hosts, Mike and Hannah.
Hello.
Hello, Mike, and hello, Hannah, and hello, crowd. We have a great show lineup for you guys this week. This big news show, actually. Lots of stories. I remember like last night, I was like, man, I got to figure out some stories. And then I did a little bit of digging, and it looked like I couldn't find anything, and now I have too much. So this might end up being a longer than normal sausage, although I'm shooting for average size sausage. So you size queens out there would just, it's a 5-story show. Yeah.
Try and be concise.
That's a tall order.
Yeah. So please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comment section. On this week's HBR News show, we're going to be talking about the Canadian Prime Minister and proud feminist Justin Trudeau's leaving the government of Canada, and he is being replaced by someone, and we're going to talk a little bit about who that someone might be in said party and whether or not they are also a proud feminist. Elon Musk's X had several outages, I believe yesterday, but maybe there are still issues, and he thinks it was being attacked. The Black Lives Matter mural in DC is being removed and more, so stick around. It's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the patron-only show. So, ever since Trump got into office, the left has been in a complete hissy fit. And one of the things that usually happens when this kind of thing goes on is we have a blame game, and you have people infighting, in which I'm here for. Because, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out, guys. And one of the people who I did not expect to punch left, as it were, is our friend from The Guardian, Arwa Madawi. Probably the most prolific writer for The Guardian ever. I'm guessing an AI, but AIs don't usually...
That mugshot with that glazed expression where she's just staring right through you.
Yes. That's why I don't think she's real.
That's not unusual for feminists. Like that's just kind of par for the course. The glazed, either that or they look like they've been possessed by the spirit of a disembodied spirit of a dead bulldog.
Yeah, well, she is an English woman. So
there you go.
I believe so, or at least she lives in.
I mean, kind of, yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
She lives in that area, therefore. But yeah, so she is not happy about the pink protest that was going on during Trump's address to Congress speech that was kind of making the rounds for a lot of other reasons, but not that. I did notice when I watched it that there was like on the, not only were the Dems not getting up, not clapping, not basically just being stone-faced, they were all participating in like different kinds of protests. Apparently, they didn't quite get under this, all in line with the same theme, and they had different ones. And one of them was there was a group of, well, they didn't like.
That's
they didn't,
Democrat typical, though. I mean,
yeah, no, but they didn't like call each other up and say, "So what are we doing? Are we wearing black? Are we dressing like ketchup bottles, or are we wearing pink? Or we're gonna have signs?" And so some of them had signs, some of them were wearing pink, and that was their protest. So Arwa Madawi wrote about this, and she said, the pink protest at Trump's speech shows the Democrats aren't coming to save us. So apparently when feminists...
They're coming to turn you all into lesbians, you stupid cunt.
So she is not happy with her own side, and I'm here for it. So let's find out. Maybe she'll have like a come to Jesus moment. Maybe she'll actually have a bit of introspection and say, you know what? I may have backed the wrong horse, or I didn't really understand what it was that I was for, and now I do, and I will be taking your bets. No, I'm not holding my breath. But we'll read about it.
When have we ever seen? How many times have we seen feminists that's been not happy with their own side? And it's I only know one, honestly, who and she's. I don't think feminism was ever a good fit for her.
Yeah. Who?
Allison.
Oh, Allison. Yeah. No, I certainly don't think
She
so.
never once she got a good handle on what patriarchy theory was, she was like, all right, I'm out. No, this is stupid.
Yeah.
That
Exactly.
was the end of Allison arguing, and I'm not even sure she ever really would have qualified. Like, if other people that call themselves feminists would have been like, "Oh yeah, you're a feminist," because I don't think she ever really was satisfied with feminism as an answer. She tried.
Yeah.
She tried to work within what she was told women, had as their, and it didn't work. But the difference is obviously that Allison is a rational person who looks at evidence and assesses it with logic and reason. I don't think most feminists know how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, because they are in danger of losing power, which is ultimately all it's about. But maybe again, I don't know. I'm always open to being proven wrong by someone like Arwa Madawi. So we will look. Go ahead, Mike.
It's not important what you call yourself. I mean, I never called myself a mangina, but I kind of was, and until I learned about just how evil feminism is.
Mm-hmm.
It's about how you approach things,
Well,
logically and rationally.
If I called myself a Muslim, but I didn't practice any of the Muslim tenets of faith, and I didn't have any of the Muslim beliefs, and I didn't have any of the objections to any faiths that a lot of Muslims view as opposing faiths, it would be a mischaracterization, right? And I think a lot of times you get young men and young women who are told feminism is about equality, feminism is about caring about both sexes, it's about breaking down gender roles. Then they get into gender studies or interdisciplinary studies or whatever they call it now, that is basically feminist studies. Or they start reading feminist writing and feminist research, and they start finding inconsistencies with reality, and they start finding obvious misandry, obvious victim narratives that are false, obvious wallowing in victimhood, like obvious head burying, where like, oh, I can't look at this information because it contradicts my narrative. And you get a lot of people who are logical and rational are like, this isn't what I signed up for, I'm out, right? Which I think is what happened with Allison, and with her experience with feminism. And I think a lot of people that would call themselves, a lot of young men, they call themselves former feminists or recovered feminists because they've realized it's kind of a mental illness. Like they've gotten into it thinking that they're protecting women and helping women, and then they realize that it's actually a load of horse shit and it doesn't help anybody, and they leave because it's not functional. But I don't run into a lot like our woman Dowie. I don't think she's in her 20s. Just looking at her picture,
No.
I don't think she's in her 20s. I'm not in my 20s either, so I'm not criticizing, right? But she's old enough to know better. And I don't think people practice something like that and wallow in it and promote it to other people in the face of counter evidence for decades, and then suddenly have an epiphany that, oh, they've been wrong the whole time and they're not going to do it anymore. Very often. I think it happens very rarely. So I will be shocked if that's what's going on here.
Well, I still maintain that she's maybe like not even real. I'm just,
if she's AI, there's a better chance.
Do you remember? Yeah, do you remember that that man that created a fake account of a feminist, and she was like, it was like a picture. The photo was of a blonde woman with problem glasses, and it wasn't a real person. He compiled it from several different photos, and he would post completely insane feminist shit. But most people thought it was real.
Tatiana.
Tatiana. Yes. Yeah,
it was Andrew Doyle.
That name, I think.
Yeah, it was Andrew. It was Andrew Doyle. That's right. It was Andrew Doyle. Yeah, I wonder if Arma Madawi is that, like, for lefties. I just wonder because it's always the same photo. I've never seen any other image of her. So, like,
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
that would be nice, but no, there's millions of these people, and they are real.
yeah, and they all live in London. All right, but anyway, we're going to look at this in the patron show. So if you want to join us, become a badger, go to feedthebadger.com/subscribe to join us for the additional content. We need you to help
McGrath.
us get through this. And yeah,
Everybody
Tatiana
in the
McGrath.
chat
That's
saying
it. Tatiana
McGrath.
McGrath.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was great. I loved it. And that we need more of that. We need more of that. We need more parody and more hilarity. But anyway, so yeah, if you want to join us for that, we will be checking out this article in after this show is over. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that we have been yeeted from the internet, please go to badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com. That is where our content lives. All right. So with all that said, let us get into today's stories. So first up, just a little follow-up. Bonnie Blue has revealed on the Bad Friends podcast. She's 25 years old, by the way. 25-year-old OnlyFans star from Derbyshire. Had revealed on the Bad Friends podcast her ongoing divorce from childhood sweetheart Oliver Ollie Davidson has nothing to do with her controversial stunt of sleeping with 1,057 men in 12 hours, despite public speculation. She explained that the couple, who met as teenagers and married in 2022 before moving to Australia's Gold Coast, naturally grew apart after years together, emphasizing that their split predates her extreme career choice. Bonnie, whose real name is Tia Emma Billinger, noted that she and Ollie remain on good terms, with him occasionally assisting with editing her adult content, and she dismissed claims linking her sex marathon to their separation. So guys, if you were wondering, like, if this divorce had anything to do with the 1,000 dudes she banged in 24 hours, you can rest easy knowing that he is not that short-sighted or intolerant, and that's not what it was. But
Has she said anything about whether the 1,000 dudes that she banged had anything to do with the fact that her relationship was breaking up?
well, no, I don't know.
That might have been a factor in her decision.
Maybe. Known for her provocative films, including targeting students during events like spring break, Bonnie continues to thrive financially, reportedly earning $1 million a month while planning future escapades despite accusations of faking her record-breaking orgy.
Like, before I start, I'd just
Okay.
like to reiterate that I would rather not be talking about this person or the drama they wish to weave. I still don't think it's real. I don't think any of it's real. I don't think she's real. I think they're all publicity stunts, and I would rather not participate in the publicity. Luckily, nobody watches this show anyway, so it hardly even counts as publicity. And, you know, since divorce is a subject that is in our wheelhouse and relevant to our interests, I suppose I will proceed. Even in this age of no-fault divorce, I have to wonder if that option in practice is only really available to women when it comes down to it. If she simply feels unsatisfied, she can go ahead and steal his kids and steal his house and steal at least half of his stuff. And there is scarcely a judge in all the land who won't go ahead and say, "Fuck you, dickhead, and fuck your prenup. I hereby order you to man up and give her everything she wants." The same thing will happen if it is the man who initiates the no-fault divorce. So, yeah, why would he? Why would he even bother? The question it begs is, if a man wants a no-fault divorce, a fault divorce, or whatever it is there any fault he can even cite that will not result in the exact same outcome I just illustrated? She cheated on me, Your Honor. No, man up. She's still cheating on me, Your Honor. Like, she's already living in my house with another man while I'm on the streets. No, man up. She's physically abusing my children. No, man up. All right. She did try to stab me with a bread knife, like, in my sleep 13 times. Look, I have pictures. Let me see those. Well, what did you do to deserve it? Nothing, Your Honor. As I said, I was asleep at the time. Well, all right. But she didn't actually kill you, correct? No, Your Honor. I'm clearly... Well, then stop being such an abusive gaslighter and man the fuck up. And so on and so forth. Even if he is divorcing this whore on the grounds that she allegedly fucked over 1,000 men in 12 hours, is it even in his interests to say so? Will the judge not just go, "Oh, so you're a filthy slut shamer, are you? I said man up." And then he just throws the gavel at his face or whatever. I mean, does this sound like a cartoonish depiction that I've painted here? Are you going to tell me this would never happen in Britain?
That happens all the time.
Yeah, well, I don't know how you're going to tell me this when no one is allowed to know what happens in British family courts. It's all censored by a matter of legal course. All we know is what happens after they are adjourned. And it is almost always, shut up, man up, give her everything she wants. So it's by the by. Even if the case turns out to be a groundbreaking victory for this man, which it almost certainly won't be, we won't even be allowed to know about it anyway. So, yeah, fuck it. Fuck this whore. Fuck this cuck. Fuck everyone. Fuck everyone you've already fucked. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you. I'm just going to say fuck a couple more times. Fuck. Fuckity cunt. Bollocks. All right, I'm done. Sorry.
Yeah. Basically, the only way for the system to change, there's one way for the system to change. And it's a long, hard road. And we're on it. But a lot of people are arguing that it can't be changed. It can. It absolutely can. And it absolutely must if the human race is not to die out. And that is the allowance that has been given to gynocentrism. And I'm using that word on purpose. Like, I don't know how things are in the UK, but there's this split among Gen Xers. There are those of us who grew up like baby boomers. We had chores. And then on top of our chores, our parents gave us little jobs that we could do for money if they had money to do that with, because a lot of parents didn't. Or we would get a paper route or a babysitting job or mow lawns or shovel snow or do other outdoor work or indoor work, clean houses and stuff for other people's families to earn money on top of whatever chores we had. And then there were kids that grew up with something called an allowance, which meant their parents gave them spending money, but they gave it to them for them to steward on a weekly basis or however often the parents got paid or whatever. And they were allowed that to do whatever they wanted with that money as long as they followed their parents' rules for whatever care they had, right? Feminism is like that in that it gets women money over and over and over again. It gets women money for research initiatives that aren't real research. It gets women money for educational initiatives that aren't real education. It gets women money for family initiatives that aren't real family initiatives, right? It gets women money over and over and over again. And it creates an entitlement that women can always turn around and say, for gynocentric reasons, you have to give me money. For gynocentric reasons, you owe me. Poor me, I'm the victim if you're not paying me to make stupid choices. Poor me, I'm the victim if you're not paying me to wreck my relationships. Poor me, I'm the victim if you're not paying me to choose the wrong guy and then spend 15 years figuring it out before I decide to leave. Oh, and you have to make him pay me too, right? Poor me, I'm the victim if you're not paying me to be a disloyal whore who has no consideration for the man that I promised to love, honor, cherish, and obey. Poor me, poor victim, poor woman, right? That's the allowance of gynocentrism. And the reality is, favoring women just because they are women and for no other reason, not because they are taking care of children, and there's some level of protection they need, not because they are essential for the survival of your DNA investment, or anything like, but just because they're female, favoring them in all circumstances instead of in that one little circumstance. That is not natural, right? That is manufactured. It's been since the 12th century or 13th century. So we're talking about like 800 or 900 years, I think. PSYOP.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a PSYOP for that long. Actually, it's been longer than that, but that is, and it was something that was initiated by aristocrats, not commoners. Right? That's something that the elite decided was politeness and good and right, when in reality what it is a great way to manipulate the masses. It's a great way to manipulate you. And until the masses wake up and decide that gynocentrism has fuck all to back it, and decide that they are going to hold the leadership of their nations accountable and impose change, this is going to continue. You're going to get example after example after example of women doing this shit. This woman is wealthy. And chances are, when this couple splits up, if this guy is not also independently wealthy, there will be no discussion of any exchange of value. She won't have to pay him anything, even if she has maintained his status economically for years, or even, just the minimum amount of time that it takes for a man to be in that situation and suddenly have to pay maintenance. In the United States, we've seen a little bit more equality imposed on that, and feminists howled about it like Gollum with an elven rope around his neck.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And this needs to happen everywhere, right? For these things to be eliminated. It's not right for someone to abandon a relationship and expect to get paid for that without solid proof that they were pushed out by the other party against their will. And it's not right for someone to have fair notice where they know this is coming and they stay in the relationship for a period of time and then use a system to help them get out and then make that claim either, right? You either get that system or you get to use financial punishment from the family court system. But women get to do both, and men rarely, if ever, get to do either. Probably never in the UK.
Yeah.
And it does need to change. But in the meantime, I'm with Mike on this. I think this is all publicity stunt. I don't think anything about this woman is genuine or real. There's a certain amount of detachment that you have to have, and it's not that you can't have a genuine personality left, because I have met and known people who do, but they don't sleep with 1,000 different guys. Like, they work with one partner or a small set of partners that they've built trusting relationships with. But to do what she does in porn, where she's just slept with anybody and everybody, done stunts like this, there's a certain amount of emotional detachment from other people that you have to cultivate or already have. And in both cases, it's not a good thing. It's very dangerous. Because it turns you into a person who does not have empathy, sympathy, and compassion, which are three different things that have a lot of similarities and often get used interchangeably by mistake by other people. But you don't have those things for the people around you, and it becomes difficult to maintain your partnerships, and it becomes difficult to be trustworthy under any circumstances, including, well, this thing I'm telling you is my true, real personality and experience. Well, how do we know that? Right? Because you had to maintain that detachment. You had to build that detachment, and now you're suggesting that now we should have a bond of trust with you, when you're telling us this about your experience and your actions. And oh yes, I'm totally genuine right now. I was faking attachment for those 1,057 men in 12 hours, but totally not when I'm talking to you. I'm sorry, but I'm not buying it. I'm
Right.
not going to buy it in the future, not buying it now. I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for her in this situation. I think everything that she's talking about now, the judgment that she's facing from other people, the way that she's not believed when she says that this has nothing to do with that, and so on. I think that all of that fallout is just her own creation falling on her. She's being crushed under her own invention. And that's if you're a guy and you see a woman heading in this direction, like, oh, I have an OnlyFans, but it's just for money. It's always just for money. Don't trust that. Just don't. Stay away from these kind of women. They're always going to do this.
Oh, absolutely. And that explains the divorce. I think, again, when she says, oh, we just sort of drifted apart, I mean, I think that's a self-report. But we'll see where it goes. I don't know. Maybe she's going to take all of his money too in the divorce. Who knows? The system is all over the place. But let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Can you even believe that she got wifed up to begin with? Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. But that was just a short little follow-up. I'm going to move on to the next story now. So, on March 10th, that was yesterday, Elon Musk's social media platform X experienced multiple outages, which Musk attributed to a, quote, massive cyber attack, end quote. According to outage tracking site Down Detector, the disruptions began around 6 a.m. Eastern Time, with up to 40,000 users reporting issues at peak times, including difficulties loading the app or accessing posts. Musk claimed, so the reason why I picked this as a story, because websites go down all the time. We always have problems I have problems with YouTube sometimes. But this was because of Musk's response and how bad it was, because I go to X to get my news. It's like the first place I go looking for stuff based on the people that I follow and the stuff that they talk about. And it's usually the most sort of current, because it's constantly being posted on. According to, Musk claimed that the attack required significant resources, suggesting involvement of a large coordinated group and or a country, and later speculated on Fox Business that IP addresses traced to the Ukraine area might be linked, though he provided no concrete evidence. The pro-Palestinian hacktivist group Dark Storm Team claimed responsibility via Telegram, asserting they executed a distributed denial of service, a DDoS attack, to overwhelm X's servers, a tactic consistent with their history of targeting entities supporting Israel. The incident's full scope remains unclear, as X has not officially detailed the attack's nature beyond Musk's statements, and cybersecurity experts caution against assuming the origin based solely on IP addresses, which can be spoofed or routed through compromised systems globally. Darkstorm, emerging in 2023, has ties to groups like Killnet per some analyses, though they deny Ukrainian involvement. The outages, which span several hours globally, underscore vulnerabilities in X's infrastructure, potentially exacerbated by staff cuts under Musk's tenure, though no definitive link to internal issues has been confirmed. Investigations are reportedly ongoing, but as of March 11th, today, specifics about the perpetrators or methods remain unverified beyond claims from Musk and Darkstorm. And I want to say also, Rumble was also really having serious problems. And the reason why I thought this was good to bring up as a topic, regardless of where it came from or what's causing it or what the reason might be, X, for better or worse, and places like Rumble are the most free speech, free speech oriented platforms that have a decent amount of reach that we have access to. And one of the things that I always thought was important ever since I started working at HBR was that we fight for freedom of speech, because obviously, there's lots of different interest groups that would like it if we just went away or stopped talking about this stuff. And I'm not saying they attack X because of us, but I think the principle of free speech is what I'm, drawing attention to. So as of right now, we don't know. Elon Musk said Here's his tweet. There was, still is, a massive cyber attack against X. We got attacked every day, but this was done with a lot of resources. Either a large coordinated group or a country is involved.
Yeah, bro, it's China. It's
China.
always China. Well, not always, but the odds are astronomical. The CCP is constantly hammering against the walls of Jericho, the firewalls, if you will, of Jericho that surround the American digital infrastructure. And it's no coincidence that they didn't do it quite as much when Mr. Burns when Joe Biden was ostensibly in charge. They didn't need to, because it was they who installed him. Joe Biden was their back door. And yes, they fucked America in the back door using Joe Biden as their 80-year-old prophylactic made from loosely woven hemp fiber and pre-chewed gum. They even bragged about it in public in certain conferences. They were all, it okay now. We own that guy. We pay for him. Fine. We talk to his son. We talk to his son. We give him all the cheap Chinese prostitutes and crack. Fuyo. Don't know why we even bother with Eric Swalwell. How the fuck do you say Eric Swalwell in a Chinese accent? I guess you don't. You just fuck him silently up the ass. Bro, your name is hilarious in every language.
It is.
What's that even like? Anyway. But yeah, if it's a country doing this, then it's not like Albania. It's not Bangladesh. It's not Eswatini. It's obviously a very large, very powerful country. And it's very probably a country that does this kind of shit all the time. It's not Russia. If it was Russia, they would have done it to the administration that declared proxy war against them. And I mean, it's not India. Those guys are far too busy scamming away everyone's life savings, one little old lady at a time. It's not Brazil or Mexico. They're far too busy killing each other. It's not Germany or France or the UK. They're all far too busy getting killed by other people. And I'm already running out of large, powerful countries that have a beef against the Trump administration, and especially the Doge. What with the Doge cutting off all the foreign, quote unquote, aid. Maybe it was Canada. Hey, sorry.
Oh, we'll get to that later.
The criterion is powerful countries, not feeble, anemic, shrunken hives of feminist incompetence. All right, I'll save it later for when we get to that story. Where was I? Oh, yeah. I mean, it might be Ukraine. It doesn't look like a powerful country, and by its own, it's not. But it does still seem to be a vassal state of the Democrat Party. Indeed, the whole country has been turned into a weapon for the imperial communists of what we call the West. So that's not completely off the table, but still, bro, it's China. It's fucking China. They do this shit all the time. It's their modus operandi. Just like if your country is using foreign funding to turn everyone gay, it's probably coming from the USA because that's their modus operandi. At least it was until very recently. Elon Musk is in the process of putting a stop to this foreign money laundering. I mean, international development. So it's no surprise that some kind of international entity is trying to put a stop to him and at least one of his various endeavors. I mean, to summarize, bro, it's China. How do I know this? I guess I don't. I'm just saying, if there's a missile heading in your direction and there's a note pinned to the side of that missile saying Harrow for the billionth time, I'm just saying That looks suspiciously like a calling card. I'm just going to say this, and I hereby refuse to elaborate, and I leave.
I will point out there is one other powerful country that does this. There's one that has not been mentioned, and it's not even the country's elected government that does it. It's the bureaucracy behind the elected government, the intelligence agencies and the military agencies that does this kind of thing. That's our own country and our own bureaucracy here in the United States. And there has been some speculation on X that this is actually an attack by the bureaucracy that Doge is investigating. And I haven't seen any evidence to refute that suggestion. I haven't seen any direct evidence in support of that suggestion either, only the fact that they do this kind of thing, and they've done it to other organizations. So there is that possibility as well. But what I'm noticing here is you have an entrepreneur who has done great things, who has created all kinds of stuff that the left should be very happy to have. And he's actually done the environmental work they say they're doing, whether it's sensible or not, whether electric cars actually save the environment or not. He's done what they've said, and suddenly, because he's also engaging in accountability practices against the deep state, against the bureaucracy, he's the bad guy, and they're making fun of the situation rather than saying, oh, hey, we shouldn't want anybody to be able to do this to any American company, right? This is bad, because if they can do this to any American company, they can also do this, and it's been done. It's happened multiple times. It happened during, I believe, both the first Trump and the Biden administrations. There were cyber attacks that shut down the availability of utilities or fuel. I remember there was one on the East Coast that hit in one state and affected distribution in another that people were really panicked about. Right? The United States should not be vulnerable to cyber attacks from either foreign nations or our own. It just should not be allowed. And there is the capability of developing a system of defense against this. There is the capability of getting a step ahead. And we have spent the last probably 15 years, maybe 20 years, ignoring the people who have been warning about this and the threat of EMP attacks, an electromagnetic pulse, which if you ever have any memory of someone in the education system telling you not to put magnets on the side of your computer back in the day when you were young and you had to be told those kind of things, it's because they didn't understand the difference between one little magnet, which can still screw things up if you leave it there for a long time, and an electromagnetic pulse, which actually really fucks the hell out of everything. And that we have no defense against either right now. From what whistleblowers are saying, every nation in the world is vulnerable to that. And since the sun does it to us on a regular basis, you would think that we would have created some sort of system of defense. But nope. They're too busy attacking each other. They're too busy arguing over whether or not it's okay to use oil while trying to steal it from each other, and creating fake wars in order to use men's blood for the purpose of money laundering and shit like that. These are the ways in which bureaucratic stupidity will destroy our civilization. Everybody thinks it's going to be the bomb. Everybody thinks we're all going to die in a nuclear holocaust. No, we're going to starve to death in freezing cold or during an unusual heat wave or whatever, because we don't have the resources to combat it, even though they're widely available, because the stupid electronic systems all over the country that could have been protected from this kind of attack if our federal bureaucracy was doing what it's supposed to be doing, were completely vulnerable. And we're too busy funding feminist initiatives instead of doing what men usually do and solving problems.
All right. Yep. So we'll see what is going on with this as more unfolds. But I think that Hannah and Mike covered the most important points. But maybe there's something that we overlooked. Let us know what you guys think about this in the comments section. What country and or organization do you think is behind it? I'd be curious to see your thoughts and theories. But anyway, I got
It's China! Fuck's sake!
Well, what I
China.
just explained is that it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah,
it doesn't
sure.
matter who's behind it. It absolutely doesn't matter. If you have the energy dedicated to creating a defense, instead of dedicating your energy to breaking up families and coddling women and paying women to make stupid choices, take all of the money, just all of the money that's funded into paying women to make stupid choices, and dedicate it to developing a defense against hackers and against EMP attacks, we would have this problem solved. People would do the work because they'd be getting paid to do the work. You would have some genius out there, and I'm sure that there is some genius out there who already has some kind of solution to this problem in the works, who has already started to figure it out, who is already telling people, start doing this, start looking into this, and is being ignored. Start paying that genius. Right? That's the solution. It wouldn't matter who the attack came from. It wouldn't matter where the attack came from. It wouldn't matter why the attack happened, if you could just defend against it.
All right. Well, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I'm going to take a look at some super chats, and then we're going to move on to the next story. So Zeranx gives us $5 and says, this is a super chat. So according to that bias article, the lack of severe drawdown of X's Trust and Safety Council left holes in its security. We should believe that? No, obviously not. I think that's just a claim that's being made by people who are dissenters, like, oh, look, you fired all these people, and now you're getting DDoS. It's like that those people weren't doing anything. That's why he fired them.
If they were so great, why didn't they leave a system in place that would have defended against us?
Yeah, so obviously
because the next group of people could have used it.
Yeah, this is just cope from some people on X, but it's not the story. So then Meredith G gives us $5 and says, HBR News number 493, honey for the badgers. Thank you, Meredith. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything, but I think that's it. So let us know what you guys think about this story in the comments. Let us move on now to the next one. This one is unexpected, I will say. So in early March, basically earlier this week, President Donald Trump escalated a diplomatic dispute with South Africa by offering a rapid pathway to U.S. citizenship for South African farmers and their families who wish to flee the country for safety reasons. Putting it lightly, this announcement made via Truth Social on March 7th followed his decision to halt all U.S. federal funding to South Africa, citing the country's Expropriation Act, signed into law in January of 2025 by President Cyril Ramaphosa, as evidence of land confiscation and mistreatment of white Afrikaner farmers. Trump has repeatedly claimed without substantiation, this is according to the source, but obviously we know this is true, that the South African government is seizing farmland and discriminating against white farmers. That's putting it lightly, echoing earlier statements from his first term in 2018. The South African government denies these allegations, no shit, asserting the law addresses historical inequities from apartheid by allowing land expropriation in the public interest, with no seizures reported to date. South African officials, including Ramaphosa's spokesperson, have rejected Trump's approach as counterproductive megaphone diplomacy, while some Afrikaner groups have welcomed his support, meeting with U.S. officials to discuss resettlement and sanctions against Pretoria. Critics, including historians and South African leaders, label Trump's narrative as racially charged and rooted in debunked white genocide theories, noting his administration's broader immigration crackdown contrasts sharply with this selective offer.
Okay.
Okay.
If you're looking for a historical perspective or precedence, what's happening in South Africa right now is exactly what happened in Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia. I'll try and put it in a nutshell. It was a wasteland, Zimbabwe, and then Europeans settled there and figured out how to farm it. They turned that wasteland into a farmland, and it thrived as a country. And then some yahoos rolled on into this wasteland, and this wasteland they weren't even using because they didn't even know how to use it agriculturally, having not even independently discovered what agriculture even is. And then they threatened to murder these European farmers unless they get the hell out of the country as swiftly as possible. And so these yahoos and their demands were met. The Europeans fled the country in fear of their lives, and they left it to the political control of these. Honestly, I don't know how to describe them without sounding a little bit racist. But yeah, these retarded, inbred, degenerate shitskins took over the country, and within one generation, it descended into poverty and squalor and a downward spiral of monetary inflation that quickly turned their currency into a black hole of toilet paper worth less than dirt, and they became one of the most destitute countries on the entire earth. South Africa is a neighboring country of Zimbabwe. It too was a barely arable desert that was scarcely occupied by anything but giraffes and hippos and whatnot. But European people rolled on in and figured out how to agriculturalize it and turn it into one of the richest, most prosperous countries on the entire continent. And it is a big continent, folks. Bertolt Brecht wrote a play about this sort of thing once upon a time called The Caucasian Chalk Circle. It involved a dispute between those who used the land to produce cheese and those who used it to produce fruit. He went around the houses to get to the moral of the story, but the conclusion was it doesn't matter if the people in question are black or white or brown or yellow, or if they came from 4,000 miles away, or if they came from just down the fucking road. What matters is what they are able to do with the land. There is energy in nature. That nature can be harnessed, or it can be squandered and left to regurgitate itself uselessly in a never-ending cycle of dirt and disease. There is a very important difference between people who come to a country that is already farmed and people who come to an unfarmed country to farm it. There's a big difference between those who establish those farms in the first place and those who simply use the spoils of those farms and turn it into fucking curry. Good for you. We hadn't thought of curry. We just have ingredients that already taste good with or without any fucking spices. And no, I am not being racist. I am talking about economical resourcefulness. That helps everyone. But if the phenomenon we call woke has taught us anything, it's that helping everyone is not good enough. We must only help people whose skin resembles dark chocolate or milk chocolate, but definitely not white chocolate. Well, I disagree. I think what's important is the people who can even farm the fucking chocolate in the first place. And I will leave you with that.
Only thing I can add to this is if you are in a relationship and the other person says, you're the bad guy and I'm going to mistreat you, I don't want you here, get out, and then objects when somebody gives you the opportunity to get out, their goal is not to live without you. And their reasoning isn't because you're the bad guy. It's because they want someone to abuse. So if white people are being villainized in South Africa, and if we are being told by the local authorities that white people are the problem, and if it wasn't for white people in South Africa would be much better off, but then we try to get white people out of South Africa and they wail and scream as though their very blood is being taken away from them. There's obviously something going on there besides white people being the villains. So no matter what side of the conflict you fall on, that's something that you should consider. And if you cannot consider that, you might be one of the bad guys.
All right. I think that basically sums it up. I'm glad it's happening. I know that the media is calling out double standards, but this is an actual case where extradition is a good idea because these people are like, they're in real danger. And this has been going on for a while. If you haven't seen it, I think one of the things that Lauren Southern did that was decent was a documentary about these farmlands. And I think you can still find it on YouTube or something. It was pretty well done, and she does interviews with South African farmers. So this is like a real thing, some real shit that's going on. So anyway, thanks for the rant. Appreciate it. Very based. And let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Probably not gonna like make a lot of people happy that are not aware of what's going on and still have that fucking, you know, intersectional brain rot, but normal human beings that like do their homework probably know this is in fact a good thing objectively. So anyway, we're gonna move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comment section. Okay, let's jump to this next one. All right, so in early 2020 of January 2025, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced his resignation as Liberal Party leader and Prime Minister after nearly a decade in power. Yeah, I know. I was there for all of that. It's because it's 2015 is a meme for a reason. Citing internal party strife and declining popularity amid economic challenges and a trade war with the United States, according to Trudeau, under President Donald Trump. His tenure, marked by progressive policies on climate change and indigenous rights, has been overshadowed by rising costs of living, immigration debates, and political scandals, including the abrupt exit of his deputy, Chrystia Freeland, in December of last year. On March 9th, 2025, the Liberal Party elected Mark Carney, pictured here, a former central banker. Yes, no history of politics, but he worked in banking. Actually worked for the Bank of England. He was like the chair or like a very, very high-ranking member of the Bank of England. So that's not any bank, right? Anyway, where was I? Former central banker with no prior elected office experience as its new leader in a landslide, with Carney securing 86% of the vote. He is set to be sworn in as Prime Minister in the coming days following a swift transition meeting with Trudeau on March 10th, promising a seamless handover. Carney's ascension signals continuity of liberal economic and globalist leanings with a focus on countering Trump's tariffs and annexation threats. Not real, he was joking, but whatever, take it serious if you want. through a robust Canadian response, leveraging his financial expertise from leading the banks of Canada and England. For Canada, this shift could bolster nationalistic sentiment and liberal polling, now neck and neck with the Conservative Party amid Trump's provocations, though Carney's lack of political experience may pose challenges. A federal election due by October 20th of this year is widely expected sooner, possibly within weeks, as Carney may call a snap vote to capitalize on the current momentum, pitting him against Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre in a contest likely centered on economic sovereignty and U.S. relations. And a couple of other things about this guy you guys should know. He is big on the net zero goals. So super, like, he's way worse than Trudeau in terms of wokeness, and he's more competent. So this is going to be a problem. In fact, I'm just going to put it out there. I love my Canadian friends. Allison, Karen, I know, and Jonathan, I know this isn't you're doing. You have nothing to do with this, but Canada is going to be like, they are starting to look like our enemy. I mean, I'm not saying we need to go to war, but they're not people we should be taking lightly. And this guy is going to be a problem. And he's going to be a problem to Canadians first. He's going to make your lives harder. He's a globalist. He comes from the banking class. He goes to Davos. He wants to do net zero. He's going to completely trash this country. He wants to bring in UBI and all kinds of other socialist policies. He's very chummy with China. So we're back on this China again. And I think it's going to be a serious problem. So anyway, Canadians, guys, stop comparing. Like, stop thinking of yourself as the country that's good because you're not us, and be us. God damn it! Like, be American. Just like, I'm not saying join the country. I'm saying take on a kind of like sense of liberty and pride in being who you are, and stop like dealing with these global homos. That's all I'm saying. This is going to be a very frustrating bit in the future.
You remember the South Park movie, right? Bigger, longer, uncut. I remember when I thought
that was like, the Blame Canada thing.
Canada.
Yeah.
They're not even a real country anyway. You might be in with a real chance this time, Canada. A slim chance, but still a chance. Obviously, there's still a faction of dyed-in-the-wool communists who will always vote communist no matter what. And in Canada, they are truly numerous. But by now, there must be some fence sitters who have had enough of this insufferable communist tosh. And there's a small window of opportunity where they're like, who the hell is this guy? I know about Pierre Poilievre, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but at least I've heard of him. I've never heard of this guy, and I don't watch enough Canadian TV to have had him washed into my brain. And more importantly, there's another faction of voters who won't vote for this guy, even though they did vote for Trudeau. It is, of course, the women who only voted for Trudeau because he's so dreamy. But Mike, surely there aren't that many Canadians who are as shallow and naive as that. Oh, I think there are. I really quite think there are. Have you seen Canada? It's the Western world's canary in the coal mine when it comes to shallow, naive feminists. If you promise women Gibbs and you fill your cabinet with barely qualified Karens, that's already sufficient to get them on your side for life. But if you do it with piercing blue eyes and a neatly coiffed hairstyle, you can get away with anything. You can forcibly, lethally inject the entire population and freeze their bank accounts and trample them with horses if they don't like it. And these fucking airheaded cunts will still drop to their knees and unhinge their jaws like a teenage groupie backstage at a Jonas Brothers concert. I'm really in my element when I'm ranting about Trudeau. It's so fun and it's so easy. I wish I'd done it more often in these last 10 years, these last 10 long years. Anyway, it's day 64 of has Justin Trudeau been arrested yet? And if not, why not? And the answer is still no, and nobody knows why. Well, I suppose it's because he did everything the WEF told him to do. That does seem to be the only way to avoid assassination these days, or indeed avoid accountability of any kind. Ho-hum.
First of all, I'm going to keep saying loud and clearly that I am a feminist.
Yes. So, yeah, good luck, Canada. Be sure to get out there and vote this time. And like the USA did quite recently, make sure you do it in such overwhelming numbers that you make it, quote unquote, unfortifiable, like it apparently wasn't the last time or the time before that. And remember, learn from Pierre Pliev and speak softly and eat an apple.
I will point out something. It may seem off topic, but it's really not. Right? This is something that we figured out in the United States, and as a result of figuring it out in the United States, we had an historical turnout of male voters in this last election. All right. Canadian women are spoiled brats. American women are also spoiled brats. American men figured that out, and they just resoundingly told American women no. And American women are having a massive, screaming, down on the ground, kicking and pounding, self-injuring, spaghetti limb dancing temper tantrum. And it's doing absolutely nothing to change the minds of American men. And it's a beautiful thing to see, because the country may very well be saved by that. All right. Canadian men, for Canadian women to have done what they've done to you, you must have been superheroes for the last couple hundred years. Right? You must have built the most comfortable, safe, easy to live in system for them. So much so that they had to find other things to whine about, that they had to pretend to be victims of the comfortable environment that you created for them, and that they had to decide it was necessary to elect a man to punish you for being so nice to them. And that's basically what I'm seeing happening here. Right? That's how Justin Trudeau got into office. Canadian women were so upset with the level of comfort in which they live, and an environment that frankly is incredibly harsh in many places. I don't think most people in the continental United States understand. Maybe the northernmost states, right? Maybe the Yoopers understand, maybe New Yorkers understand. But I remember a conversation with Allison and Karen where I had to cancel on an HBR talk live stream. I couldn't be there because I was stuck at work, and I couldn't get home because there was a level 2 snow emergency because of how many inches of snow we had. And they both laughed. They were like, "That's so cute. You measure your snow in inches." I was just like, "Well, how do you measure your snow?" And they sent me a picture of driving down the road in between walls of snow that were taller than the interior walls of the first story of my parents' house. And I say my parents' house because I got an 8-foot ceiling here in my apartment. My parents' house had rooms that had 10-foot ceilings because it was an older house, brick house, you know. So I looked at that and I'm like, holy crap, that's normal? Oh, yeah, in some places. Like, immediately realized that I couldn't handle living in Canada. That would have just been cold. There's cold, right? And then there's Canada. The only people in the United States that really understand anything like that are the people that live on the Canadian border and the people that live in Alaska. And Canadian men made that livable. They tamed it. They used it. They made it useful. and Canadian women have done nothing but bitch about them in response.
Anyway,
Yeah, what kind of relationship is that? Because it sounds like abusive codependency involving a cluster B clusterfuck as the wife. So guys, you got to vote. It's you got to look at your political situation and you got to look at it logically. The United States is reacting, right? We're not aggressing. We are looking at the way that the relationship between Canada and the United States changed during the last administration, during the Trudeau administration, and during the Biden administration, and saying, okay, we got to do some stuff to fix this. All right. If you let women continue the pattern of electing stupid little bitches of feminist men to punish you for creating a beautiful, creative, comfortable environment out of a frozen, not a wasteland maybe, but a frozen hell for human habitation. If you keep letting women put that in charge of your country, you will never have a good relationship with the United States. And what you are objecting to will continue. And this is not the beatings will continue until morale improves. It's we will continue defending ourselves economically until you put sensible leadership in charge that will create a cooperative relationship with our country. So you need to outvote the women of your country. Pick somebody who is going to do that and vote for that guy. No matter who your wife is voting or who your girlfriend, who your mother, who your sister is voting for, no matter what they tell you is going to happen to women if you don't also vote for that pussy. Vote for somebody who is going to work with the United States, not somebody who is going to war with the United States. Because we're a great friend to have. We're not a great enemy to have. And it's not
Canada.
even really...
You don't have any cards. You can't play any cards.
Well, it's not even
We've got
really
all the
worth
cards.
It's not even really worth it. Even if you were to win, you would still lose. But if you win by making friends, if you win by voting in somebody sensible that's going to create an economic plan from which both countries can benefit, then both countries win. You just got to tell women no. And you got to do it loud, proud, and clear. So if you have never voted before, you should do it now. You should do it this year. Or at least in this election. I don't know when the voting day actually is. But you should do it this time.
Yep. All right. Let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Like I said, potentially dark times ahead. And yeah, I hope the men of Canada get together and push back in the same way that ours did. Richard Bier gave us a super chow for $5 and said, I saw an episode of Lotus Eaters where they mentioned that some people are breaking up pavement to resell for quick cash. It has been previously mentioned that they have carved up railroad tracks and also have been stripping electrical cables for cash too, so the country is regressing to dirt roads and little, if any, available electricity.
I talk about Canada like it's worse than the UK, but it's not. And at least you have something resembling Pierre Poilievre and his party. We have no parties. We've recently had this scandal with the Reform Party. A lot of us put all our eggs in the basket of Reform, and then this bullshit happened. The same bullshit that keeps happening. Like even the Reform Party is purity spiraling into the left wing, and there's no hope on the horizon, other than possibly Elon Musk funding some kind of party led by led by Rupert Lowe. I don't have time to go into it, but yeah, the most right-wing party we have is itself capitulating to the left wing at every possible avenue, and it's just awful. Like I would so much like to stay here and try and save my country, but I'm so glad that I never put my faith in any political party, because to this day there's no political party that can save us, not even close.
To be fair, that's true here too. Like the Republican Party is at war with itself, and if you look at it, from the perspective of men's rights activists, which we generally are, gynocentrism is bad enough in both parties that you can't take a party line. You have to look at individuals. There's no other way.
Well, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Yep, it's definitely the final boss of everything we're dealing with. So, all right, let's move on to the next story. Again, with some good news. Nature is healing. In March of 2025, Washington, D.C. began dismantling what you may have known as Black Lives Matter Plaza, which I didn't even know it was called that, which is a 2-block mural on 16th Street Northwest near the White House, painted in June of 2020. You might remember that year. With Black Lives Matter in large yellow letters following George Floyd's death. The removal started on March 10th, followed pressure from congressional Republicans, notably Representative Andrew Clyde, who introduced a bill threatening to cut $1.5 billion in federal funding unless the mural was erased and the plaza renamed Liberty Plaza. Mayor Muriel Bowser, facing this ultimatum and broader fiscal concerns like federal job cuts, announced the plaza's transformation into part of DC's America 250 mural project, costing $610,000 and taking 6 to 8 weeks. The decision sparked mixed reactions. There's a lot of butthurt online, like local activists and residents mourning the loss of a symbol of racial justice, while far-right figures celebrate it as a rejection of race hysteria. That's not even far-right. That's normal. Yeah, like Washington, D.C., the capital of our country, let's call it Liberty Plaza. How about that? How about we don't, leave this thing lingering like a giant fucking wedge in our civilization? And I think everyone, except for, female-brained, low-T Americans, are okay with this being torn down. So nature is healing. Oh, by the way, another cope that was going around was from Bowser, the mayor. She was like, well, I want to lower the tensions, so we're going to get rid of this. Oh, are you suggesting that this thing created tensions? This attitude? Burning down cities and businesses and killing people? And all this assault? Everything that's happened? You think that created a little bit of tension? Not just in America, by the way, but in countries where it had nothing to do with this? Didn't they tear down a Winston Churchill? Weren't they doing crazy shit in Canada too? Yeah, Bowser. I think it is a bit of a stressful thing, especially considering the people who led this movement ended up buying fucking mansions and living it up in the whitest parts of our country, while claiming to want to get away from all that. Build large mansions. Anyway.
So long, gay Bowser.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with an English lesson, all right? Do you all know what the word modify means?
Change.
Right. So if you add a modifier to a description of something, you are changing the description, right? So if you take a dog, for instance, say, look at that dog down the street. Nobody is going to have any preconceived, maybe they'll have preconceived ideas of what it looks like, but they may not accurately preconceive what the dog looks like. Could be a big dog, little dog, could be a scary dog, could be a cute dog, but it's a dog, right? What if you add the modifier dead? Completely changes the situation. Look at that dead dog down the street. Why is there a dead dog there? That's a little bit out of place, right? The same is true with justice, okay? When you take the very pure meaning of the word justice and you add a modifier, any modifier, you are changing it from that pure meaning to something else. And it doesn't matter whether it's gender justice, racial justice, or criminal justice. It's wrong. It's no longer just justice. It's no longer just. It's modified. There's no reason to do that. And every time we do it, we create something fucked up. And anybody that can recognize that we've done that with criminal justice should also be able to recognize that if we take a demographic tribe, race, sex, religion, history, future, age, whatever, sex, sexuality, anything, and put that concept as a modifier to the term justice, it is going to create something just as fucked up, just as easy to corrupt as the criminal justice system has been. If you don't want that, stop using those terms and approach the situations that you're objecting to from the standpoint of how do we get people on the same page to get along, love each other, care about each other, respond with compassion, intelligence, and wisdom. If that's not your goal, then what you're doing has nothing to do with justice anyway.
Yep. Well said. And again, I'm not even in any way like sad about this. This had to happen. I'm glad. It's symbolic more than anything, and it's going to cost some money, but it had to go. It had to go. All right. So let us know what you guys think about this one.
I have to wonder why the fuck it's been there for 5 years.
Well, because Biden was in office for 5 years.
This was one of the worst things that's ever happened, and it's somehow been there for 5 years.
Yes.
I'm not going to rejoice that it's finally being removed. It should have been removed 4 years ago. 4 years and 11 months ago. But, all right, fine.
Yeah.
I won't call it a white pill. I'll call it an off-gray pill. That'll do. That'll do me. It's fine. It's fine. All right.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, too, I will say, you know, I was going to dismiss this as simply symbolic, but the truth is that a lot of these people, they operate in a symbolic world. Like they're everything is about that for them. Their victories are symbolic, right? Almost always. This is why, like, if you look at women, and women, by the way, are still losing their shit over the election on TikTok. They're still flipping out as though it just happened, because for them, time doesn't, there's no future. There's just like right now, then that's how they live. Like, oh, they wake up and like, oh my God, he's still president. And they go on TikTok and they cry and they wail and all that. But what they do is they engage in this kind of symbolic activism, because it means you don't actually have to do anything, but you get to be a part of a club that is doing the same nothing that you're doing. So you feel like you belong. Like you can find, like there were, like I said, there were protests in Chicago the other day, and there are all these women taking to the streets wearing, you know, pussy hats and pink and whatever, dressed up crazy, because they don't see it. They're like holding signs, and the signs have all kinds of stuff on it, like, you know, it go everything from my body my choice stuff to, you know, income inequality complaints and like universal basic income and free healthcare, and, you know, trans women are women. Like they were all over the map. Like if you went up to any random person on the street in that protest and said, why are you here, they couldn't give you a definite answer, but they felt like they were in a place where they belonged. And so what I notice is that a lot of what is going on with I don't know, the feminists, I guess, the feminist left, is that they are engaging in a kind of it's like a sense of desire to belong, and to do so without expending too much energy, because they're lazy. So they go to protests and they meet with their friends. We'll meet here and we'll have some coffees and then we'll like go to the march and I got my sign. They coordinate their outfits and they say, oh, we're all gonna have our nails done this way. It's that shallow, okay? And then they
I
go
actually
there
saw one where they did videos of putting on lipstick. The protest
Yes.
was literally, we are wearing
Exactly.
a color of lipstick.
Yes, exactly.
Take
Or
that,
they
patriarchy.
get the blue heart tattoo. It's like a little tiny blue heart. Like
Yeah.
it's all
It's completely
surface
useless.
level. Perfectly. It's completely useless.
without risk.
But it's
The point is
zero
completely
risk.
without
It
risk,
takes no
right?
effort, no work, but they feel good about themselves because especially because the more people who are there, the more validated they are. Look at all the people who agree with me on this thing. This is why I'm here, right? So in that sense, if you understand that this is for most of these women, it's just symbolic. If you tear down their symbols, like if you say, well, we're going to get rid of that Black Lives Matter mural, it may not do anything in terms of like the way that it might alter policy, the way that it might, like DC still going to have shitty crime because that's not going to do anything about that. But these people will take a big hit because suddenly their symbol is gone. And then the fact that it's gone says to them, this opinion is not popular. That's what they're really mad about, by the way. But regarding the election, they're not going to get deported. They're not going to lose rights. It's all about like, oh no, my opinion is unpopular because we lost the election. That's what really hurts because it means that they're not interesting. Like there isn't a lot going on. So in a way, I am extra glad because symbolically this was a massive blow, and that's what had to happen.
What people, I think a lot of guys don't understand is how women rule in society, because they do, and it's something that men have had to contend with for centuries. Women rule by argumentum ad populum. And in other words, the belief that if you're on the bandwagon, on the correct bandwagon, at least the bandwagon that the media can convince you is the most popular bandwagon, then you are in the right place. You are right, and what you're doing is right, and it has moral authority, and you are the good guys, basically the heroes of the story. And so there is that. Another part of women's psychology, and this is a secret that I think should never have been a secret, but it seems to be widely unknown, is that the vast overwhelming majority of women have main character syndrome. So so they expect you to have sympathy, compassion, empathy, concern, and consideration for them. This idea that if I'm going to win, I'm going to fight the patriarchy by making a video with a woman's fight anthem in the background, which women's fight anthems are pathetic too, by the way. Like you listen to men's fight anthems and you're ready to get off your ass and go do something. And you listen to women's fight anthems and you're ready to go find another chick to hold on to while you cry. It's not effective in real life, but people expect it to be effective in addressing problems. What it does is men who are the most gynocentric will react to that by getting off their asses. They see women crying, so they got to fix it, right? And for centuries, women have used that to validate their main character syndrome and to use less and less effective means to fight less and less meaningful battles against less and less evil enemies until they have become the bad guys, don't realize it, and are engaging in this shit still, expecting you to care. This is going to be one of the ugliest battles of the sexes. Women attention seeking are going to have to get the society-wide slap in the face from men of being ignored completely. No attention, even making fun of them is useless, right? Because they've gotten attention, and therefore it's effective. They think in their minds, look, I looked pitiful enough or angry enough that these men are paying attention. They're going to change their minds and do what we want, right? Because argumentum ad populum. Gynocentrism is still, unfortunately, the song of the day. It's still what women expect to be able to manipulate to get anything they want. And it is still what they are drawing on when they pull this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So the most important thing you can do in regard to all of these meaningless protests is don't give them their narcissistic feed. Just keep trudging forward and keep chopping down the trash that has been put up in your path of bad policy and stupid ideas, and ignore the women that are screaming at you from the sidelines while they do nothing but put on lipstick with a song in the background that makes them feel edgy and brave, when in fact they are taking no risk whatsoever.
Yep. All right. Thank you for that. Great Indoors gives us $50. Thank you, Great Indoors, and says, while I was looking into Donata's Liberal Party election, I stumbled onto the Wikipedia page of a woman called Jenna Sudds, the current Minister of Families, Children, and Social Development. And if you scroll down on that page, you'll find the following bit. Oh, better be careful coming up here. Quote, she supported legislation to ban the practice of conversion therapy, which passed the House of Commons in a unanimous vote, end quote. Which surprised me because that sounds like a good thing, right? Please click on the hyperlink of the term conversion therapy, read the definition on that page, and tell me this is not a massive gaslighting operation. Well, thank you for that. We'll have to look at that later because we're a little over time, and I have one more story that we should
Maybe we'll have to
look
make
at.
that an HBR talk
It
investigation.
could be. There's like another topic that I think would be good for HBR talk as well, which is I was gonna make it a story here, but it's way too big. And that's all this stuff about Act Blue. So I don't know if you guys are aware of that, but that's also pretty interesting. But anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're gonna move on to the last story. So this broke like yesterday. Jamie White, pictured here, a 31-year-old reporter for the far-right conspiracy outlet Infowars. Sorry, I'm looking at the Independent, so it's just info. He worked for Infowars. He was a reporter for Infowars. He was fatally shot outside of his apartment in South Austin, Texas, around midnight. The Austin Police Department responded to a 911 call and found White with obvious signs of trauma in the parking lot of his complex. He was rushed to a hospital but pronounced dead within 18 minutes. Authorities suspect he may have been killed by individuals attempting to burglarize his vehicle, though the investigation remains ongoing with no official case or cause of death released as of today. Infowars founder Alex Jones announced White's death on March 10th yesterday, calling it a brutal murder and blaming it on local Democratic policies, specifically targeting Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza and alleging a Soros-backed agenda enabling this crime, which whether or not supported by evidence is unknown at this time. White's family, including his sister Kelly Neal, clarified the killing appeared probably unrelated to his journalism, countering Jones's narrative. While the incident has fueled debates about crime and political rhetoric, with White's last X post, which was resharing Elon Musk's comment on liberal violence, drawing additional attention. So just something that a journalist was murdered. We're not sure why, but it is interesting that it was an Infowars guy, considering everything that has happened with X being DDoSed and stuff like that. So I don't know. Not much I can say about it, but I do think it's interesting. So
well, I did see Alex Jones talking about this, and it didn't sound like he was claiming that White was targeted because he was a reporter for Infowars. It sounded like he was saying that the district attorney had a soft on crime policy, and that the individual who did this may have been emboldened by
That's
that.
what he mean. Yeah, he said it's a soft on crime
So,
policy. Austin, Texas
yeah.
is kind of the woke part of Texas, so
Yeah.
that might be, yeah.
So the idea that his killing was unrelated to his journalism, that might counter Jones's narrative, is kind of silly, since his narrative, it wasn't that his killing was related to his journalism. It's that he might not have experienced the crime if he had been better protected under a tougher on crime system in a better area, or by a better district attorney, which is a distinct possibility. It's definitely something that we should watch. One thing I will say about this is, if you live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of crime, right, what you're going to see depends on what type of crime it is. If it is crime with buildings being broken into, you're going to see a lot of businesses being targeted, because criminals generally, if they're trying to steal stuff, they will avoid people at all costs as much as they possibly can. So they want to go in when it's closed, which like there's a Mexican restaurant in the next property over from the property that my apartment complex sits on, that they got really good food. They have a pretty busy business there, and they've been broken into multiple times at night, but there isn't a bunch of violent crime happening to people walking around outdoors at night in the neighborhood. And in that same neighborhood, when I worked at the gas station down the street, I used to walk to work at like 4:30 in the morning and not be afraid that I was going to get attacked by criminals, because they weren't likely to confront somebody who was going to scream and draw the attention of all of the men in the neighborhood, some of whom might be military. But they might break into a building that doesn't have a good alarm system and has a safe in there that might have money in it, or has electronics in there that they might be able to sell. And that's what they do. The speedway I used to work at used to get held up about once a year by somebody with a weapon, knives most of the time, sometimes guns, and it's always really quick. They come in, they stick something in the face of the cashier that's there. They wait till there's only a cashier there and no customers, no cars in the parking lot, stuff like that. They're in and out in 5 minutes. They get what they want and they leave. And they're as non-confrontational as possible. So that's one kind of neighborhood where there is crime on the regular. The other kind of neighborhood where there's crime on the regular is where enforcement is so bad, for whatever reason, that criminals aren't afraid to confront the people in the neighborhood, and they break into homes and they carjack people and they confront people on the street and mug them for their wallets and stuff like that. And that's the type of circumstance in which men are murdered in the conjunction of the commission of a crime. So they're targeted because somebody wants their wallet, and something happens during the incident that causes the criminal, who was only going to commit the relatively lesser crime in comparison to murder of mugging somebody and stealing from them, and then something happens that they're nervous enough, they feel like they need to defend themselves and get out of there, or eliminate the witness and get out of there, and they kill the individual. And then you also have people who are targeting other people for murder, the kind of people who are so fucked in the head and so criminally violent that they hunt other people, or they go out with the express purpose in mind of hurting other people. They're going into those neighborhoods too. They're more likely to target people in those neighborhoods, unless they're like a serial killer, and then they're going into the nice neighborhoods again, or they're going where they think people are vulnerable. But in all of those circumstances, when there is a victim who experiences significant violence, beating, being shot, being murdered, that victim is most of the time a man. And the reason is because women are usually not unaccompanied in areas like that. Women usually either are in groups, or they are in vehicles or that are locked, or they are with men. And the only time that they can find somebody alone to target, it's usually a guy. And this may have been one of those circumstances. So when a politician, when a district attorney is soft on crime and doesn't prosecute violent crime, this is the result. Men die.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's true. Well, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Like I said, this is like really breaking, so we don't know much. It's just really unfortunate. He was taken too soon. Can only assume he looks pretty young here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But we will endeavor to follow up if we learn anything interesting about this. It could have simply been a mugging that went sour. So, there's always that. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. And with that said, we're going to go into the patron show. We went a little over, but that's okay. And we're going to be looking at
this was article. A 6-story show.
We did 6 stories.
And we got through it in an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah, roughly. Just a little over. So now we're going to go into the patron show. We're going to take a look at this article from The Guardian. And one of my favorite go-tos when I can't figure out what to talk about, I just go and see what Arwa Madawi is talking about. And so we're going to look at this. Hopefully we will see you guys there. With all that said, if you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today. You'll find links to the show notes and all of the original sources in the description of this video so that you can look at it for yourself. And please share this video because sharing is caring. Thanks guys so much for coming on the show and hanging out with us. And we will see you next Tuesday. Have a good one, everybody.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.